Welcome, I'm Catherine Chan, founder of FitIn. Welcome to today's spotlight on Adam Wright of Primeval Fitness. He is a personal trainer and a Muay Thai instructor, and he often combines the two for his clients. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So to start, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm a Muay Thai instructor, as you mentioned. I've been in Muay Thai for about going 18 years now. This will be my 18th year. Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while. But for me, I'm always learning. I didn't start with Muay Thai. As a kid, I did, well, as a lot of kids here do, Taekwondo or karate. But I never really took them serious when I was a kid. Didn't really practice anything. But I was more of a sports person. So for me, it was baseball, which I usually call my first love.
Oh, okay.
And then I did that for a while. I was pretty good at it. But then, I eventually got into basketball and weightlifting, and then those became my two areas that I was heavily involved in at some point. There you go. Here I am.
Awesome. So you've got like a whole range of like sports and activities in your history. I can only imagine how well that kind of feeds into being a personal trainer because you've experienced a lot of that yourself.
Well, it's actually great because I can take a lot of the movements that I've done like for basketball practices and baseball, and I can just add them into any kind of work that I'm doing.
Actually, and that brings up an interesting question that I was meaning to ask actually. So I see on your FitIn storefront, like you have your like traditional Muay Thai classes, but you also have a listing that's kind of a combination of personal training and Muay Thai. Right. So like, and with all your other sports and activities and, that you've taken up and that you've done, and like 18 years of Muay Thai. But my question, I'm curious, like, how do you incorporate all that into your personal training sessions? Because it has to, I can only imagine it really kind of brings something to your training that maybe not everyone has.
Yeah, so it depends on what kind of training I'm doing with somebody. If I'm doing just a Muay Thai training, then I can't really use anything from my baseball training really, but from basketball I can use
Right.
because basketball is footwork heavy, right? If you're on offense or defense, either way, you have to have good footwork, right? And Muay Thai is the same way. You have to have footwork in Muay Thai. Right. A lot of people get into boxing from Muay Thai just because they like the boxing footwork, but I guess people don't realize that Muay Thai has its own, and maybe they just aren't taught it. But when I was really learning a lot more about the footwork, and this was only, I'd say maybe 6 years ago, maybe I started even learning more. I was able to get a connection from doing my basketball and Muay Thai. Even just some of our exercises that we did. One of the things I hated in basketball was this thing that we call quick feet.
Yeah.
Football as well. I hated it. But I realized how good it was. And then when I started really practicing my footwork, even, I guess started doing a lot more, I was able to see, oh, this is very similar. So if I'm doing a Muay Thai training, I can take from basketball as well because there's a lot of similarities.
Right.
But if I'm doing just say fitness, I can take from baseball or basketball or Muay Thai, and I can just combine it. Right. It all depends on what the focus is with somebody. Right.
Yeah, you have a broader range of experience that you can tie in, which is really cool, right? It's what makes it different, what makes it interesting, I think, for the client as well, when it's something they maybe haven't seen before.
Yeah, one of the things that we used to do in basketball was wall sits. I think everybody's done wall sits at some point, just sit against the wall in the squat.
Yeah.
I think we've all done that. I used to do it as a kid. I also hated that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Who doesn't? You're supposed to hate it. No, I'm kidding.
I can do that with somebody just doing a regular workout, right?
Yeah.
And it's because it's great for the legs, right? But it's also your mind that you gotta try not to focus on what you're doing just on that exercise alone, right? You want to make sure that you're focused on something. You don't want to start counting down time and whatnot, right?
Right. Actually, that's a really, we'll have to have you back to have a discussion just about like the mental aspect of Muay Thai, because that's its own beast.
It
And
is.
it can be so helpful. I mean, I don't know Muay Thai. I learned Kung Fu, but I'm sure it's the same. I think that's why martial arts in general are so interesting for people
Yeah.
and help people so much.
Yeah.
So for instance, so like why like Muay Thai is so popular. A lot of people I know are really in love with Muay Thai. I'm curious, like why do you think it's such a popular martial art or such a popular sport?
I think it's more, I think it's just people like the striking. I mean, when you look at today, MMA is huge, right? And all these MMA practitioners, at some point,
Yeah.
they learn some kind of Muay Thai, right? So, I mean, I think MMA made it that much more popular
Right.
because, I mean, it's just when people watch MMA, they like to see just a fight. They don't really,
Yeah.
they don't really care to see, all the little techniques and everything. They just want to see a fight.
I just want to get right into it.
When they find out what everybody's learning, they start thinking, oh, okay, so this is useful then. I'll go learn this and I'll learn this. So people are doing jujitsu and Muay Thai, or some of them are doing boxing and Muay Thai or something like just, but Muay Thai is usually involved in somebody's training for MMA, right?
Yeah.
But I find also, even when I just got into Muay Thai, there was a movie that came out called Ong Bak.
Oh yeah.
It was so popular when it came out.
It was crazy. It was like a whole new type of martial art movie, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I was still pretty new into Muay Thai. Even now I still consider myself new to Muay Thai, even though I've been doing it 18 years.
There's
Like
always something to learn.
yeah, always something to learn, right? I mean, that's just how I am. I don't want to stop learning. A lot of people don't learn anymore. They just focus on one thing. But me, I'm always trying to learn.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ong Bak I think was probably the start of the popularity.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and do some research on that. That's pretty, but that's how it is. It comes into the popular kind of consciousness, and then suddenly it takes off, and people realize how awesome it is.
Yeah.
So when you're teaching your clients Muay Thai, like I gotta ask, like how hard is it to teach martial arts via Zoom?
It's hard. It's very hard. It's hard and it's awkward.
Yeah.
I won't lie about that.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of things just work much better when you're in person and when you have a partner, right? Or when you can be physical with somebody. I mean, with Zoom or just any video platform, you can't.
Yeah, like there's no contact, and it's a contact sport. It's got to be tough.
Exactly. I mean, you can still practice some techniques. It's just usually isn't the same. Right?
You practice the form. It's like it goes, now bringing in the Karate Kid, it's kind of like the whole, wax on, wax off. You're practicing the movements, you're practicing the techniques, you're practicing the form, and then hopefully at some point you'll get to apply it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? I mean, even in Karate Kid, he eventually got to practice it with Mr. Miyagi. Eventually,
that's right.
He didn't even realize what was happening, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Muay Thai, you can still practice the punches and kicks. You can practice blocks, but then there's other techniques that are much more difficult to practice on your own or just over Zoom.
Right, and I'm assuming like the response training and like the reaction and the timing, that's all going to be something that you're going to have to probably follow up on after the fact. But
yeah,
at least you can develop the movements and the strength training, maybe a part of it, I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, even also there's body conditioning that we do, right?
Right.
I mean, in karate and kung fu, they all have different types of body conditioning, right? Muay Thai, one of the things we do a lot of is heavy bag work.
Right.
I'm big on going without the gloves. I mean, I'll wrap my hands, but this is just for me. I don't make anybody else do this. But I mean, I let people know, I mean, okay, at some point, if you feel like you're comfortable enough, we can start off lightly, right?
Yeah.
But just to get the knuckles toughened up, right? Get them used to making contact, right? But then there's also kicking, where we kick with the shin, right?
Yeah.
But then we also do our sit-ups and whatnot, where we get hit in the stomach. You can hit yourself in the stomach. But it's not the same when somebody else is doing it.
That's very true.
I mean, if you can go probably to any gym in Thailand, probably any Muay Thai gym anywhere, and you'll see somebody do these sit-ups when they get their stomach hit. right? It's just being able to that contact, right?
Yeah,
I mean, what you do to yourself is going to be different from what somebody else does to you.
for sure.
And your timing will be different, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's such, so it's difficult. And it does get awkward.
It does. Well, thanks for sharing some of your challenges. Hopefully we can have you back and, like I said, talk a little more about perhaps the mental aspect of Muay Thai. But
Sure.
for today, I just want to thank everyone for stopping in and listening. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
For those of you who are interested in learning more, I'll put Adam's URL to his FitIn storefront below or after this. Feel free to visit, book yourself a trial class with him, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Adam.